Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over my stats. This is going to have my stats all the way from January through the end of June. It is not going to include any data from July whatsoever because I wanted it to be a true mid-year stats. Now at the end of the year I will come back and I will tell you if I met my goals or not. I didn't have many goals at the beginning of the year because I was not doing booktube, so I had stuff in my bullet journal. So I am continuing progress on those goals, and luckily I had recorded everything like page reads in my bullet journal as well before booktube, so I have accurate stats for the beginning of the month. If you want to see a side-by-side comparison of the first half of the year to the last half of the year when I do my end of year stats, please let me know in the comments. Or if you just want to see the whole year with the charts, let me know that in the comments. But without further ado, we're going to get started with these mid-year stats, a little bit of explanation for some of the slides and why the data is showing what it's showing, and of course what goals I came up with that I want to meet by the end of the year. First up is books read per month. In January, I was house hunting, so I was surprised that I did 16 books. But on TikTok, I had started a channel there, and I was trying a new book every day. So I started like 31 books, but with doing that, I wasn't able to finish all of them, so I finished 16. Then in February was my highest month because I had read so many audiobooks. I decided why not just try to read a book a day, since that was how I was already trending. It was very difficult to do, but I did manage it and actually exceeded it with 33 books. March was the month where we were actually getting everything together to move. We were cleaning the house. So that was mostly an audiobook month. Same thing with April, as we were finally settling into our first ever home. Then with May, I started booktube because I realized I am reading so many books. I need to talk about them, and TikTok format doesn't allow long enough videos to do that. So that's why I came over to YouTube to do booktube. So I did 23 books that month, which was also the month of whatever-thon, or was that June? Oh, it was Becca's Bookopoly was in May. So that's why I read so many. And then whatever-a-thon was in June. So again, more incentive to read a bunch of books. So I read 23 that month as well. And I wanted the number to be the same. So now I feel like I just need to read 23 books every month. But also I want to slow down, and we'll talk about that later on in the slides. But as you can see, my lowest month was April, and my highest month was February, with 28.9% of my reading for the year being in February. Next up, we have the star ratings. I had, on the bar graph, you can see how many of each I read, and then you can also see the percentages on the pie chart. So 2.5% of the books that I read were 3 stars, and 28.1% were 5 stars. I would like to get the number a little higher with my 4 and 5 star percentages, because those are the books that I really enjoy. I want to keep on my shelf. I'm probably going to reread them in the future. So my goal is to get it right now. It's at 49.2% are composed of 4 and 5 stars. I would like to get that to 50%. For the star rating average, I am currently at 3.49, and I would love to get that up to 3.75. Next up, we have the pages per book. So every time when I finish, I see how many pages are in the book, and then I mark it down for whatever section it goes with. So again, you can see on the bar graph how many books I read for each of those page categories. And then on the pie chart, you can see that my average size book length was 301 pages to 400 pages, which is at 23.7%. and my 100 pages or less was at 16.7%. And the most rare was the 101 to 200. There's just not a lot of books that fall within that range. I would like to be reading more standard sized books, which is the 301 to 400 pages, which is why I'm currently at 23.7% of that page length range, and I would like to raise it to 25% by the end of the year so that I'm reading more standard length books. Next, we have the format of the books that I've read. So I did 68 audiobooks so far this year, 14 graphic novels or comics, and 32 regular standard like physical or ebooks. 14 of those 32 were full length, so the rest of those were not full length. So audio definitely makes up the highest percentage of my reads with 59.6%, and graphic novels was the smallest percentage with 12.3%. Right now, my physical reading is at 28.1%, and I would like to raise that to 30% by the end of the year, because the physical also tends to be books that I own, and I would like to be finishing books that I own over anything else. As far as the status of the books that I have, 27 of them were physical books, 18 of them were digitally owned books, and 69 were borrowed either from the library or friends, that sort of thing. So one of the reasons why it's so high is because I've made it my mission to basically read all of my friends' entire audiobook collection, which the majority of it was Cassandra Clare. So that's why the number is so high, because I did read all of the Cassandra Clare books this year, aside from the ones that I had already read in previous years. So it was quite a bit of Cassandra Clare in there, and also the Shatter Me series, including all of the novellas that go with it. That's why that number is so inflated, with 60.5% borrowed. Again, I would like to raise the amount of physically owned books that I am reading, so I want to go from my current 23.7% up to 25% by the end of the year. As far as the genres go, I did my best to solidify these into distinct genres that made sense to me. So my highest read genre is fantasy and paranormal with 50 books. Again, that are super inflated because of reading all the Cassandra Clare books, which I put under paranormal. That goes in that category. Then, interestingly enough, I actually read 12 mystery, thriller, horror books, and most of that is due to the library book clubs picking mystery books, because I normally would not choose those. So that's actually pretty good for me for the year, for 10.5% of my reading to have been mystery, thriller, horror, which is a genre I don't normally do. Also, historical is at 6.1% with 7 reads, which is also not normal for me. And that included 3 books that were actually Westerns, which I never read. Then we have romance, which I was shocked was so low at only 14% of my reading being strictly romance. 16 books that I've read that fall under that. And actually a lot of those were novellas. They weren't even full length. I think what happened here is that last year, the majority of my reading, we'll say 75 to 80%, was contemporary or historical romance. So I have been stepping away from romance for a while because I had just read way too much of it last year. Then we move on to sci-fi and dystopian. I read 24 of those, so I'm at 21.1%. And then general fiction, which are just books that I felt like maybe they had romance, but there wasn't enough of it for me to really think of it as a romance, so it's kind of just contemporary. And then some like middle grade stuff like that, that again didn't really fit strongly enough in one of the genre categories, so I read 5 of those, which made it my lowest percentage of reads at 4.4%. As far as what I would like to see happen with these numbers, I would like to see the sci-fi and dystopian increase a little bit, but I don't have an exact goal for that. I just know that I do consider sci-fi to be one of my favorite genres, but it's also one of my least read. So I would love to get that higher. Then we have my read status. So of the physical books that I have on my bookshelves, so this doesn't include the things that are in my closet that are like writing type guides or nonfiction or even classic bind-ups. This is just like my regular fiction stuff that's on my bookshelves. I have read 191 of the books, which is 30.4% of my collection. And I have 438 books that I need to read, which is 69.6%. Now, my goal for the end of the year is to keep my unread portion under 70%. I know that doesn't sound like much of a goal because I'm already there. However, I do get Book of the Month, so there will be 5 more minimum, if I like the books, that I haul from that. And I will also wind up getting Christmas books. I usually get around 5. So that's 10 books that I need to read. And once you see what some of my other goals are, you'll understand that that's a lot to read off of owned books to kind of keep the numbers where they're at. Next year, I will definitely have a much bigger goal, but this is just the last 6 months of the year and I don't want to stress myself out. I want to see that I can actually reach these attainable goals before I start setting really, really high ones. Next, we have the publisher. So I read 24 books that were indie and I read 90 books that were traditional. I would like to see the indie percentage increase from 21.1% to 25%. I like being in the know about indie books and I do own quite a few of them as well. So I think by trying to get this percentage up, it will force me to read the indie books that I already own on my shelf, as well as the indie books that I have on my Kindle from authors that I have met and I just want to support them and like review their books. Then we go into that diversity. I was pretty happy about this. So I read 65 books that were diverse and then there was 49 that didn't have diversity in it. So with there being 57% right now that is diverse, I would like to get that up to 60%. It's not that much of a stretch. However, I'm not seeking out books for their diversity because I am wanting to just get books that I already own. So it's kind of just like a cool happenstance when I start reading them and they happen to be diverse. But a lot of the books that I have were published around like 2015, 2017, when there just was not a lot of diversity in books. So the amount of diverse books that I have on my bookshelf is not that high right now. And I'm not wanting to acquire a bunch of new books. So I think trying to get it up by 3% is a good goal. But again, I'm not really going to know. A lot of these covers don't have people on them, or I haven't even really looked at the back of the description to know what kind of characters are in them. So it'll just kind of be a surprise if I make this goal or not. And then of course, once I start to wheedle down on the 400 something books that are on my shelf that I haven't read, I'll be able to start acquiring books with more intentionality and looking into them and seeing that they do have at least some amount of diversity. It's rare, it's more rare now to not find books with it, which I absolutely love, and I hope that it continues to go in that direction. But, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to get since I'm going off of what's on my bookshelf. But anyway, next category is hauled versus unhauled. So I was looking at this and I was like, why does my unhaul only say 128 when I know I unhauled like 200 books? I figured it out. So the 128 that I unhauled were books that I had not read. So they were the number that I had on my spreadsheet, but it did not include any of the books that I got rid of that I had read. And I got rid of quite a few of those. So this is just kind of what I took off of my TBR that I got rid of. And I hauled 34 books. So I'm loving that my haul is way less than my unhaul, but I want to get it even better. So right now I have 34 books that I hauled, and my goal is to keep it under 50. Again, I'm probably going to acquire 5 or 6 more just from Book of the Month. So that's going to be 40. So then around like Christmas, I'm hoping to keep that number around like 10 at most. And then that will keep me under 50 for the year. All right. Which is like the lowest I've ever done. TBR size. So my starting TBR at the beginning of the year was 555 books. It is now at 439 books. I would love to say that I could get it down to 40, but reading 38 physically owned books is a lot for me, which you could see when you looked at the graph where the majority of my reading was audiobook. I have not actually read that many physical this year, so I would pretty much not be able to read any physical books that I didn't own for the rest of the year to try to get that down to 400. I don't think that's going to happen. So what my goal is to reduce my TBR either through reading the books or unhauling books to make it go from 21.1% to 25%. My page goal, so right now I'm at 37,344. I would like to get that to 50,000 by the end of the year. So I need to read another 25.3% to get that. So I'm 74.7% of the way there. This is a kind of low goal, but I'm thinking about reducing the amount of audio I'm listening to and trying to spend more time with physical books, which take me 3 times as long to read, which is why I probably will not get as many pages done reading physically, so I didn't want to make the goal too high. I think this is achievable. Then for my book goal, I had originally set it at 52 books, and then I pretty much met that within like the first 2 months of the year. I was almost there. So then I upped it to 100 books, and right for the end of June, I had already read 114 books. So I decided, okay, again, because I'm thinking that I want to start reading bigger books that I own that are like the size of 3 novels, I did not want to make this an unattainable goal, so I went with 150 for my goal, which means that I am 76% of the way there and only have 24% of the way left to go to get it. And we got 50% of the year left, so I think we'll be okay. Then for my regular reading goals, I would like to read books as I acquire them. This also means kind of doing more research to see if books are part of a series or not, because if they are part of a series, I probably do not need to be buying them. I think I should wait to try new books in a series until the whole series is out, which I know kind of hurts the author to do that, but because I have 400 and something books to go through, I don't want to be buying a first in the series just to have it sit on my shelf while I try to knock out the series on my shelves that are already completed, which is kind of where my headspace is at right now. So I would rather just be acquiring like adult standalones, since I do not have a lot of adult books on my shelf, which is one of the reasons why I started doing Book of the Month, because they narrow it down for me since I'm not aware of a lot of the adult books and authors, and I can just pick one. So I do want to be reading the books as I get them, or at least by the end of the year. My next goal is don't buy any sequels before reading the previous book. So a lot of times, especially if it's an author who I've read from before and I really enjoy it, I wind up buying the whole series at once. And I would like to stop doing that, because then I force myself to read the whole series, even if the first book is like a 1 star. or I feel like I've wasted my money. So instead of doing that, I would rather read the first book, make sure I like it, and then buy the second book if it was good enough. And I think another one of my determinations is going to be if it's a 3-star or below, I need to just part with it. Even if it is a super hyped popular story, a 3-star book is a good book to me. However, again, because I have 400 and something books on my shelf, I really need to be just focusing on 4 and 5-star reads and authors. So that would be a good way to stop acquiring more books, is just if I don't like the books that I own from that author, I don't get any more. Then I also would like to finish all of the completed series, meaning all the books for the series are already published, that do not require me to do any rereading of previous books in the series. So I have a small little section that you can see up there. There's like 9 books. One of them I would still have to acquire. I have 2 more of the books in the series, but I'm missing 1 book in the 4-book series. So I need to read that. Then I've got like Ready Player One. It's Ready Player One, the Zodiac series, Brandon Sanderson's Skyward series, and then the last Monument 14 series. That's basically what's up there, plus the Fallout. So I would like to get done with those, because as soon as I do, I will allow myself to start new series on my shelf. But I'm kind of preventing myself from starting any more series until I finish everything in that section. So there's like 9 books. So I need to read those. As far as physical reads, I need to do that. Of course, my audiobooks, I'm already into several series, and I will continue those, same as series that I'm reading on ebooks. But this goal is particularly for that small little section on top there that I would like to have done by the end of the year, and preferably even like by the end of next month would be awesome. Then I have my A to Z challenge. So this is the author's first name, A through Z, and then I also have one for author's last name, A through Z, and then I also have one for book title, A through Z, and articles at the beginning of the book titles don't count. So like if it's an A, the title can't be A something. Like it has to be like a full word for the A. I'm doing really well. I only have a couple letters left in order to complete that, and I'll actually tell you what they are in case you have any suggestions for me to finish out that goal. So for book titles, I need one that starts with an X, and I need one that starts with a Y, and then I'm done. I've done all the other ones for book titles. So X and Y is what's remaining. For author's last name, I need one that starts with an N, as in Nicholas. I need one that starts with U. Then I need one that starts with V, as in Victor, X, Y, and Z. For author's first name, I still need a Q, a U, an X, and a Z. So pretty much these X's I need on all of them. And the Y's I pretty much need too. So like, please help me out. If you have any good suggestions, leave them in the comments. And then the last part of this is I want to focus on quality over quantity. With having a channel, you do kind of have that pressure to read more books so that you have lots to talk about on the channel. But I mean, right now I'm doing the weekly wrap-ups because I am reading so much, but I am perfectly fine with if I were to reduce the amount of reading that I'm doing, like where I'm really focusing on my physical TBR. Maybe I only finish 4 to 6 books instead of 23. And then I can just do a monthly wrap-up for that month instead of the weekly wrap-up. That is perfectly fine. I would like to not let the size of the book dictate when I read it. So for instance, I know that I love the Brandon Sanderson Skyward series, but with that book being like over 600 pages, it makes me resistant because I know that's going to take me more than a week to read just that one book. So I want to kind of reverse that thinking and be more like, okay, if you know it's going to be a favorite read, even though it's 600 something pages and it's going to take you longer, It's better to read something you know you're going to love than read a bunch of mediocre books just because it'll get you the higher number quicker. Those are my stats. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment down below how you would like for me to do the end of the year stats, or if there are any other stats that you would like to know about that I may have tracked. That's all I have for you today. I do also plan on trying to have videos to y'all on every Tuesday and Thursday. I can't promise it, but that is my goal. And I also have been thinking about doing a video every day for December. So if you have any ideas for videos or tags, anything like that that you would like me to do, I will probably go ahead and start being in the process of pre-recording those December videos so that I do have one for every day that month. So any topics you would like for me to talk about, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I might do your request for a video in December. But until then, bye! See you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share with your friends.